Hello everyone, Cupid here from Cupid Makes Games. Today we're going to be talking about interactions in games, a concept which I think is extremely important. So important in fact that I think they are the life of games. This idea was introduced to me in the book Rise of the Video Game Zinesters by Anna Anthropy. So what are interactions? In my last video discussing the definition of a game, I briefly touched upon this idea of interactions as the consequence of rules, and it's just that. It's the situations or circumstances that arise out of the rules that you define in your game, but these situations are not written into the rules themselves. I'll give you a couple examples to help you better understand this concept. In the game Team Fortress 2, there are two teams which go head-to-head against each other. Each team has 9 unique classes or characters to choose from. We'll be taking a look at the interactions of the class Spy with the other classes. For now, all the mechanics we're going to be considering are as follows. It is a first-person shooter, so we have the standard FPS controls for movement, and the Spy can stab people in the back for an insta-kill. I'd like to emphasize that the Spy can only stab people for an insta-kill when he is behind them. This basic setup gives rise to one of the most complex and high skill-based interactions in the game called trick stabs. Take a look. Do you see what's happening here? The Spy is using complex movement to trick his opponents into being in front of him. In this particular interaction with the Pyro, the Spy jumps up as the Pyro chases him up an incline, gets behind him, and turns around for the kill. There are countless such interactions in this wonderful game by Valve, and it's no wonder that this game that is more than a decade old is still a timeless masterpiece. I'm sure you can figure out many other such interactions in your favorite games as well if you sit down and think about it. Take another example of Conway's Game of Life. The game consists of grids which can either have a state of dead or alive and is dictated by 3 basic rules. Rule number 1, birth. Each cell that is dead, which is exactly 3 live neighbors around it, will come alive in the next generation. 2, death by loneliness. A live cell with less than or equal to 1 adjacent living cell will die in the next generation. Number 3, death by overcrowding. A live cell with more than or equal to 4 adjacent living cells will die in the next generation. By extension of these 3 rules, you can probably figure out that a cell with either 2 or 3 living neighbors will survive in the next generation. Within these simple rules, are you able to discern that gliders and logic gates should be possible in this game? Probably not, right? Yet these are some of the most surprising and incredibly complex interactions that arise out of these basic rules. It can get so complex, in fact, that you can quite literally define the rules of Conway's Game of Life within Conway's Game of Life. This probably gives you an idea of the power of interactions in game development. The creators of Minecraft did not code it so that a walking house should be possible within the game. However, it is an interaction that has arisen out of the flexible rules that have been set in place. So now that we are aware of its existence, how do we harness this power to make better games? Here's a simple 2-step process. Step 1. Come up with some rules and observe the interactions that arise. Step 2. Facilitate the interactions that seem interesting or fun. I'll leave you with another example from TF2 again to drive the point home of how developers leverage interactions to make a game enjoyable. We're going to be taking a look at the Soldier class this time. The Soldier has a primary weapon called a rocket launcher, which launches rockets that explode on impact and apply an explosion force on nearby enemies and yourself as well if you're close enough to the explosion. This already gives rise to a very complex interaction in the game called rocket jumping, whereby you voluntarily damage yourself with the rocket's explosion for the sake of mobility. The developers of the game have embraced and facilitated this interaction in many ways by creating weapons such as the Airstrike, which allows you to fire multiple rockets in quick succession while in the air, and the direct hit, which mini-crits, meaning more damage than usual, enemies that are launched into the air via an explosion, which is essentially begging this 1-2 combo of launching an enemy in the air with the first rocket and finishing them off with a juicy second one. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you found this helpful or entertaining or both. This has been Cupid. I'll see you in the next one.